created some of the most beautiful forests in the world by turning people into trees when they die. Mate, you can't do that. Because ashes kill trees. They've got the same pH as bleach and oven cleaner. They contain a cup of salts. They're 1 million times too high for most plants. Living legacies worth tens of millions of dollars. Never knew what I was doing the whole time. And do I care about the money? No.
There was this period, I think of 5 years, where you were doing the research and development for this project, and you were pouring time, money, energy with no guarantee that it was actually going to work. Why does that make sense to work on something for 5 years?
I can die for this, you know? I really will, because if I don't do it, I'm dead inside. Never knew. Still don't know what I'm doing day to day, you know? One day, note by note, feeling by feeling, I was letting myself feel again. I was letting myself feel the dark notes as well. And eventually, boom, I hit that grief that I've been avoiding. And I cried for the first time in 7 years. In reality, not knowing, it's the first step to magic.
Yeah, so welcome, Warren.
Hey, Sean, great to be here.
Yeah, long time no see. It's been a few years.
It's been too long.
Last time I saw you was in your house, and we were doing a family constellation.
Oh, wow. I forgot we did that. I haven't done the constellation since. That was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was epic.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, I need to do that. I need to do more of that.
And I remember you just kind of improvised it. I remember like asking, we were all like so blown away by how deep it was. And we're like, yeah, so how did you do that? And you were like, no, I just kind of like made it up. I'm like,
that's the secret.
Yeah.
It's like you have to not know. From not knowing, you're in your intuition, and you can be in the moment, and you can be informed as to what's going on and how the structure works. So you can do incredibly complex and amazing stuff, but all you have to do is not know. But you have to stay in this state of not knowing, which is pure, very simple and easy to do, right? It's not what we do day to day and minute to minute. We're always trying to know and always acting like we know. But in that, all you have to do is be in this state of not knowing, in this state of innocence, of wonder and awe of not knowing. And then you're fully connected to your intuition and your inner knowing. It guides you and tells you and informs you as to how the field of reality is working and how to work with it.
How would you say, because I think a lot of people would be like, yeah, well, I don't know a lot of stuff, but how do you then connect with that deeper layer of what's actually going on?
Well, it's like, it's your relationship to not knowing. So when you don't know, you should get excited and you go, perfect. You know, because it's like when people want to do something they haven't done before, they don't know how to do it. Most people, their relationship to the unknown will be one of fear, insecurity, avoidance, terror. And they go, well, I don't know how to do it. So I can't do it. And in reality, not knowing, it's the first step to magic. You know, you have to not know, be able to access your intuition. You know, magic happens from a state of not knowing. It really, really does. And once you know this, you start to become excited to the fact that you don't know. You know, because then now you're operating from the unknown, from the unconscious, and you can be guided by your intuition more, and you're far more connected to your intuition. When you know, or you think you know, you're trying to know, you're in your head. You can't feel yourself, you can't hear yourself, you can't hear your inner voice. You're gone. Yeah. And when you don't know, you're in this state of emptiness of not knowing. And from this state of emptiness of not knowing, you can learn. You can hear your inner voices, and your intuition can guide you. So yeah, not knowing. When people don't know, I'm like, awesome. You're there. You made it. You're ready. That's like the first step, right? You're perfect.
Uh-huh.
You know, like I was saying before, it's like, you know, like so many people spend so much energy trying to have the perfect plan that gives them the confidence, makes them safe to do whatever they think they want to do. So nothing's going to go to plan. Everything's going to be fucked Nothing's going to go to plan, and so having a plan's not going to really work for you. You know, you need to have a mental attitude to be able to deal with the unknown, so you can be adaptive to every moment, and you can be present with your intuition, and you can be guided by it. If you want to live in a world of magic, you can live through the known, but it's utterly boring, and you might as well be dead. If, you know, you can live a life where you know what's going to happen every single day and every single second, and you can control everything to within an inch of its life. You can do that if you want, but you'll be depressed and bored, and you'll feel unalive, and the yearning to feel alive and participate fully in the world will get stronger.
If there's a way of living that is letting go and trusting, at the same time, you're someone who has built things that require an ability to work towards a bigger outcome over a longer period of time. For the people who don't know you, I'd love to hear about some of the things that you've built in your life and how you think this philosophy fits into being able to build something big and something meaningful.
Well, so I mean, I created Living Legacy Forest. We've created some of the most beautiful forests in the world by turning people into trees when they die. You know, we bought a golf course in Melbourne, Australia. We turned the entire golf course into 6,000. We took 20 of the most beautiful trees in the world. We created forests out of those beautiful trees, and we created a 6,000 tree master plan forest of untold, profound beauty. And every single person that planted one of these trees gets to be part of creating a profound legacy that lives on for generations to come. We've done that in Perth. We've just got another forest in Sydney and Queensland. And, you know, like, I'm not saying it to boast, but I'm just saying it as a reference to the fact that I didn't have the skills, and I never knew what I was doing the whole fucking time. And part of my ability to create comes from the ability to not know what I'm doing and be comfortable with not knowing, you know.
So then how does it happen?
Well, if you wait until you know what you're doing and everything's perfect, you're probably never going to do it, you know, and you're probably making up all these things to avoid just fucking doing it. And you're probably avoiding failing. And it's like, you're going to fail. You're going to fail every fucking day. You're going to get rejected every day. You're going to hurt. You're going to bleed. You're going to lose money. But you're going to learn. You're going to grow. You're going to succeed. And all of the things that we think are bad, they're actually fucking gorgeous and beautiful and divine. You know, like all the things that we think are bad that happened to us, like most of them made us to be who we are, and we wouldn't be there without it. You know, it's like I've got this relationship to creativity. You imagine like a big stone, and this guy gets a chisel, and he's destroying this stone, chiseling away at this stone, and with every hammer hit, the stone's being destroyed, and there's less and less of this stone. As his hands bleed and he sweats, a face appears from the stone, and you realize he's creating art. Eventually, he's destroyed that stone, and the face starts to appear. And eventually, that man has created art. As he creates the art creates the artist. You know, and so there's these two things happening at the same time. There's a person who hasn't created art before, and he's destroying this thing, and it's becoming art. And as you create the art creates you, changes your identity, your idea of who you are, your knowing of self as to who you are and what you're capable. And he probably, if he was creating true art, if he wasn't, anyone can create pornography, anyone can copy someone else. But if he was creating true art, he didn't know what he was doing the whole time. He never knew.
So where did these seeds come from? Where does an idea, where did it start for you, this idea to build a forest of people who'd passed away?
Yeah. Um, for me, the seed and that ability, to create with passion and excitement, it, I found that the education system, was trying to fucking muffle it out of me, and I hated every single second at school. I felt like they were, every day they were trying to get me to be interested in things that I just wasn't interested in. They were trying to tell me remember history or whatever it is, and it's like, what's that got to do with anything? I'm not fascinated in it. And for me, I think it's when a person is fascinated in the world and they're connected to how they're fascinated in the world, that fascination is like a kite in the sky. It can pull you high, and it can carry you through challenges and obstacles. It can allow you to fall over, and it can pull you up. It can get you back again and again and again. A person that isn't connected to their fascination, that isn't being lifted up through something, they'll fall over once and that's it. They'll cry, they'll go home, they won't get up again and again and again. And if they do, they'll be sullen and sorry and whinging and complaining. And, I think that's what's terrifying at schools. You see people slowly, they get rewarded for letting go of what they're fascinated in. They get rewarded for learning about things that they're not fascinated in. They get trained to think like 8 billion other fucking people, and they lose their soul, they lose their currency. I think most people, if they can connect to how they were fascinated in the world when they were 3 or 5 or 7, you'll find there's a spark in them, there's life in them, that's their spirit. And it doesn't need to be clever or complicated or make money or beautiful. It can be the most simple thing in the world. But the more they nurture and they just simply do what fascinates them, the more they come to life, and the more everything they touch comes to life. And I think that's a big part of my beliefs. I just think find what you're fascinated in, and follow it and live it and breathe life into it. For me, I was fascinated in imagining things and making them real. That's kind of what took me to create Living Legacy. Yeah.
I remember you telling me that there was this period, I think of 5 years, where you were doing the research and development for this project. And I remember you saying that there was no guarantee that it would even work. And you were pouring time, money, energy into this project with no guarantee that it was actually going to work. And 5 years is a long time. And you say being connected to your fascination is the key to keep going. But still, 5 years is a very long time. Like, is that really all you need? You just need to. Why does that make sense to work on something for 5 years?
Because anyone else trying to do what I've done, they would have given up after year 1. They would have given up when they spent a lot of money. They would have given up when they didn't sleep. They would have given up when they failed. They would have given up when they were rejected. I was so fascinated by what I was doing. I didn't give a fuck. I still don't give a fuck. I'll fucking die for this, I really will. Because if I don't do it, I'm dead inside. It's a choice to live. To follow your fascination, it's a choice to be alive fully, to participate in the world. And, it's for that 5 year period, it was scary. I was losing money, and I was failing, but it was like, I didn't know what I was doing. It's proof that I live by the things that I say, like I didn't need to know what I was doing. I didn't need to know how I was going to do it. I was just madly choosing to do what I loved. And that's not taught at schools, and that comes back to the original story. So when I finished school, I was in year 12, and all my friends were getting their grades, the reports back. and everyone was becoming a doctor or a lawyer. All my friends were smart. Unfortunately for me, and I got like 37 out of 100. Couldn't get into any university, and I looked like I was either crying or about to cry. This guy comes up and he says, "Listen, what's wrong, kid?" And I'm like, "Oh, I've failed my family. I've ruined my life. I can't do anything. Look at all my friends." And he goes, "I'm the CEO of Heinz and Foster's. I'm telling you, it's more important to want something so badly that not being able to do it makes you cry. All your friends have got the grades to do something that they don't really care about. You got something precious." I'm like, how does that help me? Well, I'm not like a fat kid in a cake store. I still can't do what I want. And he looks at me. He's like, "Fuck, this kid's not that not that bright." You know. He's like, "Listen, kid. Follow your heart. Never take your foot off the path." That sentence changed my life. And if it wasn't for those words, I wouldn't have been able to go to TAFE, which is like university for people that aren't smart enough, right? Wouldn't have been able to struggle through TAFE, struggle through university, get my dream job, had 2 warnings for my dream job because I was not great at it. But then eventually took the risk. After I had 2 warnings, I took a big risk, and I did it my own way. And I had a lot of commercial success with the company I worked for. It was my dream job, but it took me 10 years of failing through university and high school, through TAFE and university, and working my way up through my dream job before I had any success. And when I finally had a commercial success and we sat down with the table, my company and the company that we did the partnership with, we sat down at this massive table, and there was one empty seat. We were waiting for one more person. And I was just sitting in there thinking to myself, if that guy didn't give me the words, "Follow your heart, never stray off the path," I wouldn't have made it to that seat. And I swear to God, as I'm thinking those words, the man that said those words to me sat in the seat. Like, for real. And that night, I told him that my real dream was, I didn't want to buy farms and destroy nature to create housing estates. That I wanted to create beautiful forests by turning people into trees. And I asked him to be my chairman, and he said yes, and that's how I started Living Legacy. The whole time I didn't know what I was doing. You can't create that level of magic. It's impossible for that to happen. Right, isn't it? It's fucking absolutely impossible to create a situation like that. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how it was going to turn out.
And so the beginning of this journey to stay in your dream, on the path towards your dreams, followed by 10 years of, or longer, of kind of struggling to keep up, but staying on the path. And then finally reaching that point where, yes, you've achieved a lot, and it's been quite a good ride by the sounds of it. Like, you had your dream job, but then you realize there's another level deeper that you're being called to go into.
Yeah.
And then expressing that to the same guy who the journey started with, who you randomly bumped into him, or what was that moment like?
He was one of the friends' dads at the party. Oh, no, he's one of the friends' dad's friends at the party. And literally, it's the first time I met him, and those words changed my life. And 10 years later, when I'm sitting there being grateful for it, he comes back, Now he's my chairman. Now he helped me create the company. And I having the ex-CEO of Heinz and Foster's is a pretty good chairman for someone that doesn't know what they're doing, doesn't need to know,
What made him say yes?
He could see someone that had a dream, and You could see someone that had the courage to dream wildly and was willing to make it real. Most people don't have the courage to dream wildly. You know, Living Legacy was such a wild dream. You know, oh, we're going to create beautiful forests all around Australia, and we're going to, it's like, it was 10 years ago. Everyone said I was mad. It was a terrible idea. Now the idea's caught on and people are doing it and it's normal. But at the time, it was absolutely insane idea.
Because the science wasn't even proven that it was possible, right?
Yeah, correct. But I think as well, I think mentors, people that have wisdom or knowledge, part of that is passing it forwards. Neville's a great man, and he has wisdom to share, and he saw someone who was, worthy of receiving some of his wisdom.
What was this jump? Where did this idea come from that you wanted to do something so closely related to the topic of death? Given the fact that most people shy away from that topic, they won't even want to discuss it. They think, oh, don't go there. Why do we have to talk about this dark stuff?
Yeah. Where did it... well, I guess when I was at university, one of my best friends at university was beautiful girl Lauren, and she died shortly after university. And when she died, I didn't know how to grieve. I didn't know how to let myself feel, and I guess it felt pretty good not feeling it at first, just avoiding it. People say, "How are you?" And I say, "I'm actually pretty good." And in my mind, I was coping well because I hadn't felt it, and it was kind of like what I'd really done is I just cut off a lot of notes on a piano. So I was just trying to play a symphony with one note. I'd cut off all my low and heavy note feelings, and it kind of works for a while, but the longer you play one or two notes, the worse it gets. Well, the worse it gets. It was good at the start. It was like, Kanye's Runaway, fine for a few bars. But after 7 years, I was numb and depressed. And, the world became a great place. And I became numb inside because I'd cut myself off from the ability to feel. And the thing with grief, it's patient, and it waits for you. You can't avoid it. If you avoid it, it'll just patiently wait and wait and wait until you're ready. It doesn't go away. That shadow, shadow's not going anywhere. It's going to follow you around until you face it. And for me, every time I went to nature, I started looking at flowers with wonder and awe. I'd look at the light passing through them, and I'd look at the veins, and I'd smell them. And in 1 year, I spent 10,000 hours or similar to that in nature, just looking at flowers, sleeping in trees. Every time I looked at a flower, I was getting another note on my piano. I didn't know what I was doing, because that's the secret, right? You got to not know. I was just following my heart, not taking my foot off the path. And I'm looking at flowers, and I'm getting my notes back, and I'm getting my keyboard back, and I'm getting my symphony, and I'm looking at flowers, and I'm loving flowers, and I'm being in nature. One day, note by note, feeling by feeling, I was letting myself feel again. I was letting myself feel the dark notes as well. And eventually, boom, I hit that grief that I've been avoiding. And I cried for the first time in 7 years. And the crazy thing was, it felt so good to cry because I wasn't numb. I felt amazing to cry. And this thing that I've been avoiding was this beautiful feeling of feeling more alive than I had ever before, because this was a note in my keyboard I'd never played, And I was like, what? The grief was a gift of feeling more and feeling more alive than I'd ever before, and I'd been avoiding it. And in this place of feeling more alive than ever before, boom, the idea, it's like, oh wow, well, if people became trees when they died, instead of people connecting to what they lost and creating grief and mourning and numbness, which is what happened to me, instead of that, people can connect to the beauty that a person's life created. They can look at a flower and they're in there, and they can connect to their heart, and they connect to the person's presence instead of their absence. They can connect to their growth and their gratitude instead of their absence, and it's instead of their grief, growth instead of grief, absence instead of presence, life instead of loss. And it can change how that person's remembered. It can change our ability to feel alive and how we're a part of life. And I was like, I just got to do this. But guess what the problem was? I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know anything about trees. So I went to the director of the Botanic Gardens where it happened, and I just said, thank you. You've changed my life. If I didn't have this experience, for sure, my life would have been empty and grey and dull. I could have had the most amazing life, and I had an amazing life, but it would have been empty. I wouldn't have been able to feel it. And I said, you've changed my life. Your flowers have helped me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. One day I want to turn people into trees. And he goes, mate, you can't do that. He goes, ashes kill trees. They've got the same pH as bleach and oven cleaner. They contain a couple of salts. They're 1,000,000 times too high for most plants. You can't do that. He goes, but if you do want to try to do that, you need to talk to this special type of scientist, and maybe they can help you. And so by me not knowing what to do and following my heart, I was guided to a person who could help me do what I needed to do. And I had that attitude to continue to just follow my heart and never take my foot off the path and be comfortable not knowing. And now, here we are, another 10 years on, and we're turning golf courses into forests, and it's pretty exciting.
It sounds like every time you've done something courageous, like being willing to feel the uncomfortable emotions, and then also go and talk to someone immediately after that and thank him, connecting with people, that you get helped along on the journey. And do you notice that more often in your life? Is there some kind of pattern between either being courageous or the state of not knowing, where you notice that these synchronicities happen, like your mentor coming back to be your chairman and sitting on that chair?
I think the way I operate my system is that I see synchronicities as the world or the universe's way of talking to me. And so, I have a relationship with it, and I'm talking to it, and when it's showing up the synchronicities, it's letting me know what things work. It's showing, when my heart feels connected to the field of all the things that are alive, that we're participating with it. And it's a way of it giving me feedback through, reality is informing me through information, and reality is little bits of information, and that's how it informs us and informs me whether I'm in formation or disformation. That's how I see it. That makes sense.
So many people would say, that's kind of woo-woo, but it's actually something, because it's not provable by science, but it's actually something that I've noticed as I've interacted with other great founders. This willingness to pay attention to the signs that they're being shown, and looking for coincidences and symbols that might have been sent by God or by the universe that they consider as a guiding force, and willingness to listen to that, a form of communication that It's interesting how these kinds of things are exactly what people kind of frown upon or look down on in certain parts of society. Let's say the less connected parts where people are like fully in the box and focused on facts, things that are measurable, provable. And I feel like these people can also have success, but it's a different, there's no magic. It's like a willingness to look at the magic of life. And what I love is seeing people who are open to that and simultaneously having the ability to create something of substance, something that is adding a lot of value and really has a foundation in society, in this case, in the form of your unique business.
Well, I think the bridge between the two worlds, between people that see the world or reality and they see the synchronicities in it as a form of language, that we're talking to reality in the world and that we're part of creating it, and the people that don't see it that way. One's a victim mentality, and the other one's a creative mentality. You know, a creative mentality says, I'm creating it, and I take responsibility for my life and how I'm creating it. I don't blame it on other people. Victim mentality blames others in the world for their reality as if they've got nothing to do with it. And the problem with that is, the problem with the people that are sort of spiritual and are focusing on positive synchronicities is that most of the magic is invisible to them because they're focusing and looking for positive synchronicities. The negative synchronicities, the ability to look at them and face them, are the things that will give you most power. And an identity or an archetype that has the same patterns playing in their lives over and over again and keeps on blaming their partner. You know the type. They're sitting there going, oh yeah, that's that girl's problem, it's that girl's problem, it's that. And it's like, what, you think every person you're in a relationship with, they're the problem? Come on. You know what I mean? Oh, it's my employee's problem, it's my employer's problem. It's like, you can't you just have the same problems, the same synchronicities again and again and again, and not realize that you're the fucking problem. And these synchronicities, these patterns that play out in people's lives again and again, they will continue to get more painful, generally into their life-threatening, until you have to look at them and face them, or numb yourselves from them with whatever means necessary. So I think on one side of the spectrum, the ideology of looking at synchronicities is flawed if you're only looking for positive ones. And often the realistic people that don't do that can succeed in life because they're more focused on reality. Let's call it that. That's how they like to call it. But those people are tragically flawed in their inability to look at themselves, and they play out patterns again and again and again without realizing the negative synchronicities dominate 70% of your reality. And the inability to face them will destroy you. And you will use the people you love the most to play the same roles again and again where you're the victim.
Yeah, that's the stuff that I love to work on. I've worked on a lot of my own negative synchronous patterns as well, especially in the last 8 months since I took on the journey of becoming a coach. The particular modality of coaching that I do goes into that level where we get to study the actual root cause of, for me, it was a lot my relationship patterns. I'd say I have been in victim mentality in the sense that I've allowed the same thing to occur over and over and over again. at the same time, I was trying to question, what is it that I'm doing that's allowing this to happen over and over again? And it wasn't until I did some very deep work, some deep grieving work, and actual emotional release, that the clarity came and that I understood what was causing it, and then I could actually shift it, because our logical brain can understand these patterns pretty quickly. Like a lot of women are aware if they have some sort of daddy issues, or like what do you call this, relationship patterns where they're anxious, attached, or avoidant. But knowing the patterns doesn't really help, because the behavior is driven by emotion and by fear, usually at the very core of the fear of being alone. Within all of us, there's usually from childhood a core wound that is related to a fear of abandonment. And funny that we're talking about trees. The way I like to explain it, if we view our life as a tree, this is how I view the work that I do. Our relationship patterns might be here. You might notice a pattern here. Here you might notice a pattern with money. Here you might notice a pattern in friendships, or in your vitality, your health habits. And of course, there's all these ways of solving your relationship by doing a course, or maybe there's a book on money. All that kind of stuff is interesting, but it's like trimming the leaves, and then soon enough, like, the leaves will just grow back the same, because nothing's really structurally changed about the tree. However, a bit like the experience that you had when you were willing to go to that depth and feel the emotion, finally something shifted in you. So with the work that I do, I'll go down the branches all the way down the stem and into the roots to find among the roots, maybe there's some rocks. And they're just kind of stuck in there,
100%.
stopping the roots from growing healthily. So all you have to do is take out what doesn't belong there anymore, and then everything just grows. Put in some compost, throw in some love and a sense of safety, and then suddenly the tree, it starts to flourish and grow bigger, and naturally just takes the shape that it's always meant to have.
Yeah.
And you don't need to prune the leaves when you go and work at that identity level. And as you say, something in that moment really shifted in you. And I would guess that a lot of things, and like you've said, a lot of things in that moment changed without you having to individually go and cognitively try and change them. It just happened naturally from that point.
But similarly, we both let ourselves grieve. It was a starting point for transformation.
Yeah.
And we're allowing ourselves to feel and get out of our head. And I'm pretty sure you didn't know what you were doing when you're letting yourself grieve. You were completely in a state of surrender and not knowing. You know what I mean? You go from trying to know and trying to fix it to like, I don't know. Now I'm not trying to fix it. When you're free of fixing it, you can create it. And that's a whole other mentality. A mind that's always trying to fix it assumes that there's a problem.
Yes.
And that's and then is always looking for a problem, even for other people, and then they're trying to fix that. And that's why I'm just starting to learn about your work, and I'm fascinated by it, and I love what you do, and I think it's so important that you're bringing awareness and actually helping people with their mentality, because it's like I see all these fucking people trying to give people a fucking plan so that they have this false sense of security that everything's going to be okay and it's all going to work out, and what a load of fucking crap. There's not preparing them to have an attitude that can joyfully participate in the challenges of their journey, where they actually just love every moment, including the failure. And I love your work. I think it's fascinating. I think it's important. You know, someone will go through 15 years of school and they won't learn how to breathe. They won't learn how to think. They'll be told what to do, and none of it will have anything to do with what they want to do, and none of it will really show them or give them any understanding as to how they think and who they are. And if you don't know who you are and you don't understand how you think, you're going to think the way that you've been told and taught, and you're going to adopt an identity, and you're going to try to be an idea of someone that's been sold to you. And one day, if you work really hard and you become that identity, you'll be disappointed, because people will love a version of you that you've tried to become to be accepted that you're not. You know the story when the devil fell in love? So like Al Pacino, Devil's Advocate, fucking amazing movie, right? Amazing movie. Al Pacino's playing the devil. He tells this story. He says, one day the devil looks up from hell and he sees this beautiful earth girl. He falls in love with her on the spot, but he knows she'll never love him because he's the fucking devil. So he gets a piece of wood and a carving knife. He spends half an eternity carving out this beautiful mask with this exquisite knife. He looks at the mask, puts it on, he goes up to earth. He woos the girl, he seduces the girl, he woos her, and eventually she turns to him and she says, "I love you." At which point in time, he pulls out the carving knife. He chops off his head. He's so jealous of the mask that she's fallen in love with that he isn't. He has to kill it. And I think it's very sadly, like, we grow up with this idea that we need to be someone because we're not enough, or, we need to be important or special or strong or powerful, or, we need to be someone for someone. We need to be something for someone so that we can be loved. And it's so sad. I think most relationships are, I don't think the people like the other person for who they are. And how can they when they're not even themselves? I think it's pretty painful reality that people invest so much time and energy to work so hard, and they generally do work so hard to fit this image. But if it's not you, I'm sorry, it's empty, and that's where your pain comes from.
I remember because we met at a ceremony, a plant medicine ceremony, and after that I felt I'd like to get to know you better, because you had a very interesting way of speaking, and an interesting presence. And then so we were sitting having this coffee afterwards, talking about our lives and the things we were interested in. And at the time, I remember I was like busy being heavily invested in the markets, and like really focused on getting successful so that I could then later go and do something that I really loved, which was acting and performing and music and all that kind of stuff. I remember you telling me something that really stuck with me, because during the ceremony, let me tell this first. During the ceremony, it was an incredibly difficult ceremony for me. It was very dark. I went to a place where I believed that I had cancer.
Fuck.
And I was experiencing the cancer in my body, and it was
horrible.
I fully believed that this was the end of it.
Wow.
And I was going to die within a short period of time. And so that's the second time that I've been confronted with my mortality in a plant medicine ceremony. And when we were talking, because I'd shared that story during the retreat, right? Yeah. And so when we were talking later, a few weeks later in the cafe, I was telling you, and you were asking me, so what do you actually want to do? And I was like, yeah, well, I want to do acting and music and all that kind of stuff, like art. I'm an artist, but I wasn't doing any art. And you were like, listen, Sean, remember in the ceremony when you felt like you had cancer, you not doing what you actually want to do is as serious a problem as you actually getting cancer. You getting to the end of your life and not having lived out that calling of going to be an artist will leave you with so much regret. It will be worse than getting cancer because you won't have lived fully. And that really stuck with me. And then I went and I became an actor a few years later.
I'm so fucking grateful I say good things. I really, man. I'm glad, like, that my mentor's words changed my life, and thank you for sharing that with me. And I'm glad I said the right thing. And I'm glad it was effective. It's the truth, though, isn't it?
Yeah. The moment that I actually made that transition was a few years later. My dad passed away, and it was a very kind of difficult time, the most difficult time, but simultaneously one of the most enlightening moments where I suddenly, all the egoic pursuits just fell away. They paled in their value, just they meant nothing to me anymore. It was like, what the fuck am I doing? Trying to achieve all these things that I don't really care about, when what I really want to do is become an artist. And I've had these wake up calls along the way, but it was just like, it was, you know, the saying, the greater the resistance, the bigger the dream, right? Stephen Pressfield. Well, that was the case for me. It was so difficult for me to go and do art again after 10, 15 years of not doing it. But then when my dad passed away, I understood something about life that I really hadn't ever understood on that level, which was, it doesn't really matter what we do in life. We can fail as hard as we want, because how I saw my dad pass away was not pretty, let me put it that way. How he had lived his life was problematic for him and the people around him. But still, he ended up in this, how I felt it and how I sensed what was happening behind the veil was that he was set free after that. And so I kind of felt safe to then take the risks that I knew I needed to take. And in fact, I finally understood your mentality of having no choice but to pursue the things that we actually must do, because you're not truly fully living if you're not pursuing them. If you're not like living on that edge of what you know you're capable of, or what you truly want, the most risky, the most scary thing, we're not really fully here.
100%.
We're wasting.
That's where the life is.
Yeah.
Isn't it? That's where the treasure you seek is in the cave you fear to enter.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like we avoid the things that we love somehow, which is pure madness, isn't it? It's fucking pure mad. We're going to avoid it, but that's what everyone's doing.
Yeah.
And the fear and the terror in facing it that brings you to life. What a fucking gift.
Yeah. For me, it really took witnessing my dad's passing and having the sense that there's nothing that I can do that could make it so bad that I could ruin my life and still be fine when I die. Something about it, I just felt like death is safe. Death is okay. So I might as well live fully.
We have this idea of pleasing our fathers or impressing them. And our fathers are more impressed with us failing and struggling and trying and becoming a fucking man and following our hearts and having the courage to live and love, not to be perfect and have it all and safe. You know what I mean? And I think what that happens is we have an invisible idea of a father that we want validation from, and that person doesn't exist. Our fathers for most people, not for everyone, but for most people, our fathers have loved us unconditionally from the day we were born. And when you have a child, you learn that. And it shocks you because you realize, oh my God, I've been loved unconditionally my whole life, and I thought I had to do things to be loved, and I made it up. I didn't have to do a fucking thing to be loved. I was loved from the day. And when I had my first son, I didn't realize that. I thought I had to do things to be loved. And then when I had I was like, oh fuck, been loved the whole time. I didn't have to do anything, you know. There's a real freedom in that. But I think people have, well, when most kids are about age 1, they realize that their mother is separate from them. You know, when you're in the womb, your mother is you and you are the mother, right? You go from the womb to the world from a woman, the woes, right? And when you're in the womb, you're part of your mother, she's one with you. And then you come out of the womb into the world, and your umbilical cord connects you. You're still one with her, she's still you. And then you're born, it takes a year for you to realize that she's separate from you. And the moment you realize she's separate from you, you create your identity and you create abandonment issues simultaneously. And that's how you create the world. That's how you create your worldview. That's how you create your identity and your relationship to yourself, others, and the world. And you do it without you knowing it. You don't even know that you did it. You don't even know how you created it. And we're all walking about not knowing how we're creating it, not knowing how we're creating the world, not knowing how we're creating our worldview of others and ourselves all the time. But we're always doing it, but we don't know it. We're just blindly creating reality without knowing it. And it's a beautiful thing that we don't know it, but that's what we're doing. And the more you understand how you're doing it, the more you can use those patterns and synchronicities as a tool, as a gift to start seeing how you're creating reality.
That's basically now everyone should understand. You should just go and just go and do it.
100%. Well, I mean, it's the only thing that's happening. It is the only thing that's happening in the world. Everyone is walking around. Basically, the only thing that's really happening is everyone is trying to describe it. And when I say describe it, if you look at everyone's language, it's how was it? It was good. It was bad. It was in a burning bush. It was above you. All of our language, all of our thoughts, all of our mentality we're just trying to describe it. And when you look at what we're doing, that's all we're doing is we're describing it. It was good, it was bad, it's going to be okay, it's not enough, it's enough, I'm good, I'm bad. Our language is centered around the use of the word it. The invisible things in our lives have power over us because they're invisible. And the invisible voice in our head controls and creates our reality without us knowing it. And it can do that because the way that it does it is through the word it. But once we see it, we can't unsee it. And once we start to see the word it, we can have a relationship with it instead of it controlling us and us not seeing it. We can start to create it and we can have a relationship with it. So that invisible voice in your head, you wake up and it's like, okay.
Who is we in that equation?
Who's we?
We can start. Who is?
Well,
We can start to, because instead of it controlling us, we start to create it.
correct.
Who is we in this equation?
Well, if I'm talking to you and you're starting to realize that the word it has been kept a secret from us. We haven't been told about it because it's the most powerful word in the English language. And once we see it, it stops having that invisible control over us. When you look at English language creates reality. Whether you're a computer or a person, your entire language is created through, your entire reality is created through language. That's how it works. Isn't it?
Yeah.
That's how it works. Language creates reality. You have a language creating a reality without you knowing it, because you can't see it. Once you start to see it, it stops being invisible. The only reason it can control your life, how you think and you feel and how you act, is because you can't see it. It has been kept a secret from us to keep us powerless from it.
How can you utilize language to create it, to create what you want or what you feel called to create?
So the starting point is like you become aware of it in your language, and when things bad happen or challenges happen, observe your language. See it. If your language is saying, why does it happen to me like this? Why does it have to be like this? That's the assumption that it is happening to you and you're the victim.
So what are some things, you have 2 or is it 3 children?
2 beautiful boys.
You have 2 beautiful boys, and I feel so much passion behind all the stuff that you're saying. And you've said that, the schools and society aren't really putting in any effort to teach them this. In fact, they're kind of doing the opposite. What are some things some actions that you're taking to, I'm assuming you want to impart some of this to your children. If yes, how are you going about that?
First, you have to let them create their identity. Then you have to let them create their reality. Part of creating there's going to be things in their reality that they don't like, that are painful. They cause painful lessons and synchronicities and patterns in their lives. I have to let them do that, and a lot of those things will be painful things, but they have to create their identity and their reality. And when they're of age, maybe 16, and they've created enough of their identity and reality, then I can show them how they're creating their identity and their reality. I can show them, introduce them to the voice in their head that's telling them how it is. Introduce them to the voice that's telling them how it is, telling them how it isn't, how it's going to be, how it wasn't, and let them start having some insight into their own operating system. The education system's not going to give them that, are they? They get education system and the world and society and advertising. They're going to tell you how it is. And if you are not creating how it is, and if you're not aware that you always can be creating how it is, you're going to let other people tell you how it is, and you're going to believe it. Or even worse, you'll believe it and you'll try to become it for them or for someone else. That's what's happening. Everyone's you put on the news, they're going to tell you how it is. It's scary. There's a war. It's scary. It's bad. It's terrifying. They're going to tell you how it is. And if you're not careful, you'll believe it, right? You know?
What kind of... I mean, your kids are not at an age yet where they're making serious decisions about their direction in life, or maybe they are. But what would you advise your children to focus on now? What skills or study or kind of career path do you think? How would you go about guiding them through that process?
It's the same thing. It's like, the problem with most adults is they're rewarded for learning how to think like 8 billion people. And you're not 8 billion people. You're a soul, you're a spirit, you're an individual. And, fortunately my kids are 4 and 6, and that hasn't been erased out of them. My job is just to nurture their spirit, connect them to what's fascinated, help them create a mentality where they can overcome challenges. You can't just, it's not just about things being easy and fun and happy. It's how do you overcome challenges to be great at something that you love, but the great part comes with challenges, right? To be great at what you love, you're going to have to sacrifice and put in hard work and change and grow and face adversity. And but if you're fascinated by it, you'll love it all. And
so, just encouraging them to follow their fascinations,
follow your heart, and never take your foot off the path. That's the same thing that my mentor told me. That's all I want for my boys. I want them, by the time they're sort of 16, I want them to have created either be creating art or have some businesses that they're creating, just something that they love, that they're creating, and that they're participating in sharing their gifts with the world. And that's all I want for them. I don't want them to be good at competing with other children for complying. I very much don't want my children to be good at competing with other kids for complying, to be rewarded for thinking like 8 billion other kids. I don't think that's going to be very valuable in the near future. I think when information was in books in libraries 30 years ago, perhaps there was some merit in being able to recall information. But I think we all know that that's in the past.
All this knowledge that you have and this worldview, I get the sense that it's not something that you... Where did you get it? How did you develop this deeper insight, and why did you develop it, and why did other people not? The reason I ask is it feels like the things you say are coming from observations that you've had. It doesn't feel like you have bought into any certain doctrines. You're speaking, it almost feels like you're mostly speaking from experience. And you're just drawing your beliefs from what you've learned in your life, the insights that have come to you. Feels like very fundamental insights, and simultaneously through a very individual lens, your unique lens that you found through it. How has it found you, or how have you found it, this deeper view?
Good point, and perfectly expressed. How did I find it, and how did it find me? Because it wasn't until I understood it and could speak to it, and had a relationship to that, I could start to change it. I would say there was 3 big events that helped me have a relationship to it. The first one was, I was in detention at school. I read a book. I grabbed a book to look like I was reading, and there was a line from that book, William Blake. It said, "To see the world in a grain of sand and heaven in a wildflower, to hold infinity in the palm of your hand and eternity in an hour. And that one sentence changed my life. It was like, it's like chemistry. You know, when you put something, a chemical on another thing, and it's just changed forever. From that day onwards, I was a different fucking person. Like I stopped playing with my friend, and I just went under this stairwell and I just read and read and read. I was fascinated in the world. And I was fascinated to realize that there was someone else out there that knew what I was thinking and feeling, you know, like someone else that had that experience of what it's like when time stands still and the world's this infinite, beautiful moment. And then I became fascinated in reading and thinking, you know, and so from a young age I started reading a lot from that one sentence. And then I think maybe when I was 28 or so, I found Joseph Campbell. His book, Reflections on the Art of Living, probably the biggest influence of my life. That book is his heart beating on paper. And I just think it's a gift to the world. It's a very little known book that very few people have read. And it just has a tremendous insight into, it's called Reflections on the Art of Living. And it's like, it's everything we're talking about. You know, it's like we're taught to work. Like we measure ourselves on our fucking productivity. Oh, fucking cancer, you know? Fucking cancer. Like, have I been productive? And it's like, where's the teaching on living and the art of living and being in your heart? It's like it doesn't exist anymore. And to find that book was to stumble across this thought process, this mentality of like being alive and participating in the world, and having a mentality where you could face adversity and fucking love it, you know, and not run away from it or cry for it. It's like if you go into a relationship looking for love and happiness, you'll be disappointed and you'll fail again and again and again. If you go into a relationship looking for growth and fulfillment and meaning, all your challenges will allow you to grow, and you'll be happy with the challenges and the growth, you know, and you'll have to die 100 times to become the person you need to be. And so like you can be happy with reality. You can be happy with yourself as you are and the world as it is without having to fucking fix it all, you know, and that's the art of living. That's what that book's about. And then the third part was, you know, I guess I was on my honeymoon and I just, you know, I had my dream job and all the things that I'd set out to have in my life I'd attained. And I finally met the woman that I really wanted to love and marry and spend my life with. And we're on this boat and we're on honeymoon. And I was fucking sad. I wasn't happy. And I was so disappointed that I wasn't happy. Because I had no reason not to be happy. I had every fucking thing that I wanted in my life that I said I'd be happy when I had it. I had it. And now I was like a miserable fucking cunt, not happy. And I'm like on this boat, going to this beautiful hotel with my wife, love of my life, and I wasn't happy. And I said to myself, you know, it's like, how is this possible in this moment? You're not happy. And the voice, you know, my intuition just talked to me and said, well, if you look at the water, it's a little bit choppy. And I'm fucking furious. I'm like, really? I can't be happy because it's a little bit choppy? And it's like, yeah, well, you know, it's your honeymoon and it could be perfect. And I'm like, well, I tell you what, this is my honeymoon. I worked really hard to be in this place in my life. And I really feel like I deserve to be happy on my honeymoon. And I'm going to give myself permission to be happy, even though it's a little bit choppy. And I got happy. And I allowed myself to be happy in that moment. And then, boom, I had this another voice in my head just came in and said, oh, well, you can't be happy because you're not at work. And there could be problems at work and you need to fix them. And I'm like, well, hang on a second. Shouldn't I be happy because I'm not at work? Shouldn't I be even fucking happier that I'm not at work and I'm on this fucking boat in Croatia? That's not a reason to be unhappy. That's a reason to be fucking stoked, right? I was like, hey, you miserable cunt. This invisible voice that's telling me how it is. That's the thing. There's a voice telling us how it is all the time, but we don't know it. Once you know it, right? We don't know it. Once you know it, you can see it. And once you really know it, that's when everything comes to life. That's when you can start controlling it and creating it. But if you don't know it, it's creating you. It's creating your reality. It's telling you that life's not fucking amazing, right? That you're on a boat in Croatia on your honeymoon. So like I say to the voice, I say, okay. So don't worry about the choppy water. Don't worry that you're not at work. You should be stoked that you're not at work. Boom, it comes in. Another reason why I can't be happy. It took 15 minutes of having a conscious dialogue with the invisible voice that's telling me how it is and giving myself permission to be happy. And every single time it had made up a shittier excuse to be happy. Eventually, it basically just became like an automatic dialogue where I gave myself permission to be happy, and I got to see the humor of the voice in my head telling me why I can't be happy all the time. And it basically, I smiled for the first time in my life so widely my entire mouth hurt, because for the first time in my life, I was in a state of unconditional happiness. And until that moment, all of my life, I was trying to get states of happiness by meeting conditions that I'd created. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. I'd like, okay, when you fall in love, you can be happy. When you've got a house, you can be happy. When you've got a good body, you can be happy. And the problem was I'd met all those conditions and I was still a miserable fucking cunt. And so I knew that there was a scam. I knew that someone was fucking with my life, and I found a person, and it was this voice in my head creating all these conditions as to when I can be happy. Like a prison guard that would ration out little pieces of bread through the bars. It would say, oh, you can be happy when you meet this condition, when you do this, when you do that. And until I saw it and I saw how I was creating it, and I could basically have a relationship with that voice and let myself have unconditional happiness instead of conditional happiness. Like, no matter what I did, I was a miserable cunt. I was a miserable cunt having an extraordinary experience. And I still am. I think that's what we are. I think we are miserable cunts having the most extraordinary experience possible. I really do. I think we're in a divine world. I think we're divine beings in a divine world. But we're giving this miserable cunt to have this extraordinary experience through. And part of the awakening is the humor. When you realize how miserable of a cunt we are and how of an extraordinary experience we're having, it's just so funny. All the effort we go to not let ourselves be happy all the time. It's fucking hilarious. The lengths we go to create conditions to be proportionally happy. Does that make sense? A little bit?
Well, what we're doing doesn't make sense, but everyone's doing it. Yeah.
We're all chasing like this idea of happiness, but it's not happiness. It's conditional happiness. And so what happens is like we ration out these little portions of fucking happiness. And it says, okay, when you achieve this great milestone, when you do this great thing, or when you do this, I'm going to give you this amount of happiness. And then you spend a bunch of years doing it, and then you achieve it, and then you give yourself this little reward, and you say, oh, now I can be happy. Now I can be proud of myself. Well done. You've done this thing. I'm going to give you a little bit of happiness.
Yeah.
It's a fucking satire. It's an absolute joke.
I still do it.
That's all everyone's doing. We create these conditions, and then we create a little portion of happiness for meeting those conditions, but we don't realize that we made those conditions up. And we portion out that little bit of cheese, and you say, well done, little boy, you did the thing. It's a fucking joke. It was like unconditional happiness is when you allow yourself to be free of all the conditions that you create and need in order to be happy. And it takes about half an hour to an hour of having that dialogue, just giving yourself permission to be happy. And then when you give yourself permission to be happy, trust me, the fucking negatron cunt is going to basically tell you why you can't be happy again. But then if you watch him and you keep on giving yourself permission, he'll run out of things, and he'll just saying, you'll start being so desperate to find reasons why you can't be happy, you'll start laughing at it, and then you're there, and then it just becomes automatic. That's how I learnt to see it. That's how I learnt to see how it was controlling me, how it was creating my reality. You know, that's how I worked it out.
A lot of people these days are single and wish they had a partner, or say they wish they had a partner.
Yeah.
What would you say to those people who would love to meet the love of their life and have kids?
It's the most important choice you'll make, without a doubt. So it's the most important choice you'll make. It's the best thing you'll ever do, without a doubt. And if you choose to be with someone that you like as a person, as time goes on, you'll get to like more and more of that person. And the more you like that person, the more they grow as a person, and the more of that person there is to love. And if that person likes you, the more they love you, the more of you become, and the more of you they get to love, right? And you grow and you get to love more of each other. But sadly, as simple as that sounds, most people are in relationships with people they don't like. It's just straight up that simple. That they'll be attractive, or they'll think they'll make them look good, or they'll make them secure, or get the money, or they actually just don't like the person for who they are. And most likely they don't like who they are, and they're wearing a wooden mask. You know?
So find someone you actually like.
As a person.
As a person.
Because like as you get older, like, you know, like there'll just be more of that person to like, you know? And it's just like, if you're just liking people for their looks, they're like, I just feel sorry for you, you know. It's like you're not acknowledging who you are, and that you're a soul, and that you deserve to be loved.
And at some point, does there come a point where you just kind of know this is the right one to go with? Because like you say, it is the most important decision you'll ever make. I believe that too, because we are so affected by who we surround ourselves with, and this is going to be someone who you're going to be with, you know, 7 days a week, perhaps most of the day.
Yeah.
And you have to raise your kids together, and you have to do everything. So how do you know, even if, you know, I like a lot of people, how do I know this is the person that I should?
100%. I'll tell you exactly how, and it's clinically simple. You'll date girls, and then people will say, you know, is she the one? Is she the right one? And if you pause or hesitate, and if you say, I'm not sure, they are not. Well, when they are the right one, you will not pause, you will not hesitate, and you will be pretty excited to say she is the one. The thing is, like, when people ask that question and they say, "Oh, I don't know," they do know.
Yeah.
You know that you don't know. When you know, right? When someone say, "Oh, she's the one," yeah, I know it.
Yeah.
Yes.
You just know.
But so when people say, "I don't know," I'm not sure. They do know. They know that they don't know. Right? So any answer that isn't yes or I know, it's there's no maybes. You don't know. You know that you don't know. Right? So you just like you won't be grey. You won't be 90%. You won't be maybe. I think you're 100%. You will know.
Yeah.
And if the idea of like being with someone or being in love or whatever appeals to you, and you're doing it to meet that criteria, and you don't know, that's not going to work out very well.
Yeah.
Because it's like you both have to go through the fire. You'll both be destroyed 1,000 times. You'll hate each other for weeks on end. You have to love each other enough to fail 1,000 times and get up with joy every time. Does that sound familiar?
The thing is, there's so much.
Remember the kite?
Yeah.
The fascination?
Yeah.
It's like...
Yeah, so you've got to have this sense of knowing, like, this is the person I want to do it with, and I'm willing to go through anything to be with this person.
You got to know it. You got to know it.
Because the advice that's out there that's so confusing is you're never going to meet the perfect partner. And mistaking the idea of perfect partner for someone who I see potential in them to grow into someone who I want to be with is a mistake that I've made a lot. Oh, well, she's not got this and that yet. Maybe she... So that's how I've fucked myself a few times, is by looking at the potential for it to grow into something while deep down not feeling that certainty yet about, this is actually someone who I really see her, and I feel like she really sees me, and we really like each other. And you're saying that there should be that felt sense of certainty underneath all the imperfection that this is someone you could love.
You will know.
Yeah.
And when you know, nothing matters. When you know, it's like, it doesn't matter if they're fucking imperfect, because it's like you got your entire life to fucking love each other through all of your fucked up bullshit. Like we've fought for weeks on end. We've hated each other so much we don't even know why we hate each other, but we're fascinated. We've got that kite of fascination and love, and when you're following your heart and you're tethered to love, you can fail 1,000 times and you'll get up with joy every time. And that's the same thing that I've been saying about everything. It's like you have to follow your heart. And relationships are no exception, You have to follow your heart, and you need to stay on the path. Because that's the only thing that lets you go through the level of suffering that's required. And if you're doing it thinking that like they're not going to be challenged or fail or suffer, then you're going to have a miserable fucking journey. You got to love it all.
One thing that I notice that I have a lot of resistance to is the way a lot of people speak online about money. It's like, oh, I had 20K
Let's just do it. Let's just
all
do
that
it.
kind of stuff.
Yeah. Let's just do it.
And it really bugs me. And I feel like you're someone who sees the deeper layers of money, and I want to explore different ways of thinking and feeling about money that can allow me to pursue that financial security, and at the same time and speak about it, but from a deeper place than it really being about money. Because really, at the end of the day, it's not about money, right?
Yeah.
But it's about energy flows, and I would love to see how you view that.
Well, for the first point, when you get the money that you told yourself you'd be happy when you get it, you won't be. You'll still be a miserable cunt having an extraordinary time. You're like, oh, when I got $1 million, and you're still a miserable cunt. You got $1 million and you're still a fucking miserable cunt. You allowed yourself to be happy for about 15 fucking minutes, and now you're a miserable cunt again. This is what's happening. Most people have exceeded all their dreams, and they're miserable motherfucking cunts. They really are, you know? They'll have everything, and they're still miserable cunts. And it's like they meet the condition, and then they have to make up another condition that they haven't met, so they can work towards it again. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
It's like they get the $1 million and they go, all right, I had 5 minutes of happiness, and it's like, okay, well, now when you get $10 million, you can be happy, you know? And it's like, fucking, what a joke. I remember when I was, I don't know, maybe 28 or something, like a bunch of my friends said, oh, you know, if you had $1 billion, what would you do? And it was simple. It's like, I'd create the most beautiful forest in the world. And I'd do it by turning people into trees, so that people could be part of creating something beautiful together, and we could change the way that people are remembered to be something, you know, beautiful instead of harmful. And it's like, but guess what? It's like, I don't need $1 billion to do that. So it's like, if you do the thing, most of the time, ask yourself, what would you do if you had $1 billion? Then give yourself permission to do that thing, because you probably don't need a single fucking cent to do it. It's like when I was 28, and it's like, if I had no money and I wanted to connect people to the beauty of being in timeless moments with nature, I can go and plant flowers. I can sit with people and look at beautiful flowers, but I don't need a cent to do that. You know what I mean? It's like, for you, that's why when you said the thing about acting, it's like, you've got the treasure, you've got the $1 billion. It's the thing that you want to do, the thing that makes you come to life. You get to do it. But when people set up these things and they go, oh, but they set up the conditions. Oh, when I get this, then I can do what I love. Fucking lie.
Yeah, because I
what a fucking lie,
the
right?
moment I realized, I just started and I just went and did it, and it cost me maybe like €1,000 in lessons and getting a film crew together, and we were doing it. And within 6 months, like, the universe started giving me more opportunities to do it, and then the whole community was created, and that's changed my life completely. And that was from just deciding, okay, I'm going to stop postponing my dreams, this thing that I have inside me, and I don't care if I fail, if I embarrass myself, if people judge me, because this is just what I want to do. And if I die without doing this, it'll be so sad, and I don't want to be sad. I'm gonna go be happy right now.
And if you don't do it, you're dead already.
Yeah,
you're dead already when you don't follow your heart, you know, 100%. And that's it. It's like, the idea that you need money to do what you love is a fucking trick by the cunt that tells you how it is without you knowing it. Your words then, in your language, you said, I started doing it and I created it.
Yeah.
That's the difference. Either it's creating you or you're creating it. And everyone's telling you how it is. The news, the TV, everyone's telling you how it is. And if you don't know it, you'll unwillingly participate in their it instead of creating it for yourself.
So bring this back to money, because people have this belief that that they don't have time, they can't go and do the thing they love until they have money. And
that's the lie that the miserable cunt tells you.
Yeah.
And because you don't know that miserable cunt is creating it without you knowing it, you go along with it without you knowing it, and you participate in that lie, and it holds you ransom. And then it goes, oh, look, I've got that money now. And you won't be happy. You will still be a miserable fucking cunt when you get the money, because your life is created and controlled by that miserable cunt that's telling you how it is. And so it's like money's great. It's important, like living legacies worth tens of millions of dollars. I never knew what I was doing the whole time. Not once. Never knew. Still don't know what I'm doing day to day, you know? And do I care about the money? No. Like, I just want to create the most beautiful forest in the world, and I want to share it with people, you know? And that's what motivates me, and that's what drives me. And it's like, that's what gives me the ability to fucking fail and just continue to innovate and create again and again and again and again, because I don't give a fuck about the money. Like, the money only serves the purpose of creating flowers and trees. That's its only function. But if you make money the function, you've participated in self-betrayal in the highest form.
I think that's going to be a tough pill for a lot of people to swallow.
It's a sad truth. You know, we betray ourselves for things that have no meaning or substance all the time, you know. And the reason it's self-betrayal is because it's you putting these other things above your own self, above your own worth, above your own spirit. It's like most people are so possessed by the idea of owning things, they are no longer in possession of their own soul. You know, and so if you're possessed by this idea of having money and getting things, it's like you're probably not in possession of your own soul.
So get possessed with pursuing your dreams.
Yeah, be possessed by what enlivens you, what fascinates you, what you're be possessed by the things that made you get out of bed when you were 4 years old and were as excited about. Be possessed by what makes your heart alive. You know, be possessed by the things that bring you joy, and act on it and live on it. That's what you better be possessed by that. You know?
I think that's a beautiful one to end on.
Thank you, mate.
Thank you so much.
Cheers, brother.